Hey, it's me, TB, and today I'm bringing to you the Slow Readers book tag, which was created by Michaela May. Since I was tagged to do this by the creator, here I am. I'll link the original video down below so you can all go watch it and subscribe if you aren't already. So yeah, so the first question is, what is your Goodreads goal for the year? Mine is at 100 books, and right now I think I'm at 81. See, I was planning on hitting 100 by June-ish, which probably is not going to happen now, but we can hope and pray. So yeah. Question 2 is, how many books do you read a month on average? See, every other month I've read over 15, I think, except May, where it's so weird saying my graph on my spreadsheet because April is at 20 books and then May is at 4. So yeah, great. I think so. I mean, averaging that out, probably around 10 books a month-ish. So how many days does it typically take you to read a book? It takes me approximately an hour per 100 pages. So it just depends if I can sit down read it in one sitting. Usually I can read for about 2 hours without stopping. But then after that I'm basically done for the night or the day. So I need to wait a few hours before my eyes can not hurt from reading so much. But usually, about 3 days-ish. Are you always reading or do you take breaks in between? I'm usually always reading because I have a physical book I'm usually reading as well as an audiobook that I listen to while at work. So I usually am doing reading at someplace, usually. But recently I've been not listening to audiobooks at work because I just haven't wanted to. So I haven't been forcing myself to. 5 is, what book took you particularly long to read? And that is War and Peace, because I was doing a beta read for it and I'm still reading it because I did not pick it up once during May. So great. I loved it for me. Definitely going to be needing Spark Notes for this. So that's great. I am liking it. It's just thick as fuck. And it's a classic. So the font is very tiny. And the pages are very big. So it's just very slow. This is a book I do want to finish in June. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's pray and hope together. Basically, this is a book that kind of follows, Russian nobles while they are having a war with France. The Napoleonic Wars, I think, are following how that conflict affects the Russian families, and it basically follows them over the course of 10 or so years, I think. So yeah, and since this was a beta read, this is month 5 or 6, so great. The next question is, do big books intimidate you because you'll be spending a lot of time with them? And yes, they do, because for instance, with War and Peace, it takes me so long to read this that it feels I'm almost wasting time, even though I am no time reading it. Feels I'm wasting time because it takes so long to actually finish this and mark it down as done. So yeah, it does kind of suck to read a big book. Even though you can do a lot of character work in it, this book has done a lot of interesting character work with our cast of characters. So it feels I could have spent this time finishing so many other books. I just didn't. So yeah. So question 7 is, which book have you actually read in one day or super quickly? And for me, that is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I read this in one sitting because I had to read it for a class. So there was a day when I was at school that I was kind of bored with nothing else to do really. So I just read this in the library in one sitting. So yeah. So only it's literally slightly over 100 pages. So it was so it took me an hour and a half, maybe 2, probably longer, because I had to mark this up for school with marking lines for my essay. So probably a little bit longer. So probably closer to 2 hours or so. Yeah, I read this in one sitting. I really liked it. I can see why people wouldn't like it, but I thought it was a great time. So the next question is, what genre takes you the longest to read? And for me, it's starting to become fantasy. Seems like I do like it for some weird reason. Every book these days needs to be over 600 pages. So I don't know why this happened, but it's literally every book it feels is over 600 pages these days, and it fucking sucks. So probably that, because while I do like it, I just want to know why they're all so fucking long now. So next is a book you regret reading because you spent so much time with it for so little payoff. While I didn't spend a lot of time with this book, I feel I wasted my time with it, and that is The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Well, this is a classic, and it does read a very modern, a very modern voice for a classic. By the end, I just did not like it. I do think that it's very interesting to read about this book from a science fiction perspective from the late 19th century, because there's some scientific things that are said that should don't make sense, it just couldn't happen, but because it was back then, it probably made sense back then, And basically, a guy's ship is wrecked and he's picked up by this weird vessel that's carrying a lot of wild animals, and the vessel drops off the animals at this like weird island, and the shipwrecked guy has nowhere else to go, so he's kind of like forced to go along with the animals to this weird island. And there he finds out that the doctor there is experimenting on animals to kind of like make them evolve into humans. It's like fucked up and crazy shit. And yeah, what was like a fairly quick read. I just feel like I didn't like it at all. Like there's nothing to make me want to read this again, but I still have it because I hate myself, I guess. So yeah, definitely a case where I felt like I just wasted my time reading it because it was just like not that great. It was like interesting to like read about in the context of like early sci-fi, but it's not anything I would want to read again, you know. And next up is to recommend a book for slow readers, and you know, maybe it's fast-paced, or whatever, but I have 5 for you, so here we go. First off is a Kata Witch by Nadia Okorafor. This is like a middle grade YA-ish novel that is following Sunny as she is kind of living in Nigeria after family has immigrated from America to Nigeria, and while there she learns that she has magic. She has to be trained to utilize this magic, and yeah, I think that the plot just keeps going on and on. It's like, and very like action-packed from like plot point to plot point. I had to read this for a class, and it was like a case of like I wanted to like not wait for my like assigned readings because I just wanted to like sit it down and read it in like one go. So yeah, I like did a good job of sucking you in and wanting you to keep on reading. Then there is the Hutchinson murders. This is a detective mystery novel that there is a wedding going on, except on the night of the wedding, the bride and groom get killed, and the detective is called in to investigate. This is because it's very short. I feel like the murder just take like a while to actually happen. I feel like there's enough like intrigue to like keep it going, to want to figure out, you know, when the murder is gonna happen, as well as who does it and how, because the how in this book is fucking wild. There's like no way you're ever gonna figure it out. Next up is really like a series recommendation, but I just have this book because it was like closest to me on my bookshelf, and that is The Case of the Burgled Bundle by Michael Hutchinson. And this is because this is a middle grade mystery series following First Nations kids as they like solve mysteries, and this one takes place during the National Assembly of Cree Peoples, and there is the treaty bundle there that they have to do a ceremony for, and when that bundle goes missing, the kids have to investigate who took it and why. Honestly, there are 3 books in the series out so far, and I loved all of them, so there's that. I think I've read every single one in like one sitting too. Obviously, I feel like these do a good job of like sucking you in. Well, they are definitely like middle grade, maybe like a late elementary school. They are still like a lot of fun to read, and I do like them a lot. So yeah, and this is like a series. You can basically pick up any book because they are very like isolated books. Think of these as like Nancy Drew novels, where like you don't really need to read every book in order. You can like pick up books wherever and you're fine. And there might be like one line saying like, oh yeah, last time we solved the case of the blah 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 blah. But it's not really like important to like know like the actual like plot of each subsequent book. So yeah. Next up are 2 books that I listened to a video audiobook. I feel like they do a good job of like, I listened to them and like I immediately knew that they were going to be a 5-star read for me. First is Jacoby by William Ritter, and this is a like paranormal-ish mystery series that takes place in 1892 when Abigail Rook comes into New England and she needs a job, and she gets hired by a detective called Jacoby, and he investigates paranormal cases that everyone else thinks he's crazy for. But you know, solve cases involving like ghosts, fairies, all that kind of stuff. And this one, there is a serial killer on the loose, and they investigate that. They really like it, and it's like, I won't say it's like overly funny. There were parts that made me like laugh a little bit. I do like both Jacoby and Abigail Rook. There's not a romance between them, so don't go in expecting that. It's literally just them being friends, which I really liked. And I think there's also a ghost character in this that I really like too. So yeah, it was great. I loved it. I do really need to finish the other books in the series because like this was like just so good. I don't know why this book isn't talked about more, because like the mystery element was so good, the cast was so good, the world building was so good. Like it was just a great time overall. And I think this book would suit slower readers because it is fairly short. It is under 300 pages, and the audiobook is also very short. Next up is kind of like more like a general thing, but overall I think short story collections would work very good for slower readers because it's more like sectioned off into sections, so you can read like a story every day or whatever. But more specifically, I'm recommending The Last Wish, which is part of the Witcher series, because like the short stories in this are kind of like fairy tales that kind of have like a twist or like a remix to them, where Geralt has to go out and kill monsters involved in these tales. Some of them are kind of like vague references, but it does become kind of obvious by the end, like what story they are kind of like tied to, you know? I think I like all the book stories in this one a lot. It's just like one of the things where like you read it, I listened to it, and I knew immediately I was going to love it. So yeah, there's that. Basically the series is following Geralt as he is a monster hunter And the first few books are short story collections that follow him as he is like hunting down monsters and kind of like piecing together what happens in the rest of the series. We've heard that a series after the first two books kind of like takes a different like turn on things because it becomes like an actual like series with like actual plot, whereas the first two books are more short story collections, but we need to read them to get context for the rest of the series, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was the Story Readers book tag. If you want to do this tag, you're welcome to do it. There you go. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, subscribe, like, share, all that, and I will see you next week.